The Aes Sedai are a special society in the fictional universe of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time book series. Aes Sedai means servant to all in the Old Tongue, the language used for most official documents during the Age of Legends, and now mostly used by nobles and scholars. They are the wielders of the One Power. Their organization is headquartered in the White Tower in the city of Tar Valon. Brief history. Hall of Servants. The Hall of the Servants was the center of Aes Sedai power in the Age of Legends, analogous to the White Tower in the Third Age. It is unclear if the name referred to the organization of Aes Sedai of the headquarters. The Hall of the Servants was located in Paran, which was also the center of world government at the end of the Second Age. The leader of the servants was known simply as the first amongst servants. He or she wore the ring of Tamerlane as a symbol of their leadership. Tamerlane was the first person to channel the One Power, and the ring may have been a construct of his or hers, perhaps even the first Angreal. Just before the War of Power, Lews-Their and Telemann was first amongst servants. He was also said to have summoned the 9 rods of dominion, which were regional governors of the planet, making him similar in power to a global president. Given the attitude of Aes Sedai and non-channelers in the Third Age, it is not likely that all leaders of the Hall of Servants could summon the 9 rods, but that this power was linked to the individual's ability rather than his or her station as first amongst servants. In the Age of Legends. The Age of Legends is a relatively utopian society. Men and women with the ability to channel the One Power are scientists, healers, philosophers, etc., constantly developing new labor-saving technology. In the series, these people are therefore known as Aes Sedai, meaning servants of all, and hold considerable status and respect. The headquarters occupy the Hall of the Servants in the city of Paran, and the most powerful exponent was Lews-Their and Telemann, called the Dragon. It is explained at various points throughout the story that certain Aes Sedai felt the separation of the power into male and female halves, known respectively as Sidon and Sidar, constrained them needlessly, believing that they had discovered a new source of power. Miran Sedai and Bedo Mon Sedai mistakenly enabled the Dark One, formerly imprisoned outside of time, to influence the world. This influence later caused the War of Power, in which many Aes Sedai commanded the armies of the Dark One. Of these, the most powerful called themselves the Chosen, but were later called the Forsaken, whereof 13 survived the war. To suppress the war, Lews-Their and Telemann and his 100 companions sealed the bore and trapped the Dark One, as well as almost all the Forsaken. The backlash from sealing the bore tainted the male half of Sidon itself, and the surviving 68 companions became insane. Lews-Their and himself murdered his entire family, earning the title Kinslayer. Over time, all surviving male Aes Sedai were driven mad, and began to channel wildly, even altering the landscape. This catastrophic period was called the Breaking of the World. Among Aes Sedai in the novels, some Aes Sedai, primarily the Red Ajah, believe that male Aes Sedai sheltering and studying exacerbated the breaking. Others, primarily the Blue Ajah, hold that the breaking might have destroyed the world entirely had all male Aes Sedai gone insane at the same time. Female Aes Sedai of the time foresaw the rebirth of the dragon, and undertook several wonders to provide him with what he needed. After the breaking, on the eastern continent of Robert Jordan's world, the remaining female Aes Sedai eventually reorganized themselves on the island of Tar Valon, where, with the assistance of the Ogier, they built the White Tower. The Aes Sedai that became a monastic order, educated through years of hard training. Their elected leader held the title Amirlan seat and became as powerful as any government. Any man with the ability to channel was gentle. The common people of Jordan's series fear the Aes Sedai, knowing that they channeled the same power that had caused the breaking of the world. As a result, Aes Sedai have often been the focus of mistrust and even hatred. To make themselves more trustworthy, Aes Sedai employed the oath rod and developed the wielders. On the continent of Shaunshun, Aes Sedai set themselves up as local governors and rulers rather than establishing a single, united order. During the conquest of Shaunshun by the armies of Luther-per-Antrag, these Aes Sedai were turned against each other, and a device called an Adam, able to imprison women who can channel, was invented. Aes Sedai on the continent were eventually rendered extinct by Luther-per-Antrag's successors, and Aes Sedai are outlawed in the Shaunshun Empire. Instead, all women are tested for the ability to channel at a young age. Those who can channel are made Damane and leashed with Adam, while those who can learn to channel are made Suldam, who control the Damane using Adam. The Shaunshun themselves are unaware that Suldam can learn to channel, and it is speculated within the series that, if that discovery were to be made, Shaunshun's society might suddenly collapse. Men and women who cannot channel are unable to control Damane by Adam, while men who can channel or learn to channel feel great pain upon contact with Adam, and may die. Ages. In the Age of Legends, an Aja was a temporary group of people for a specific purpose. In the main plot of the novels, the Ajas are 7 sub-societies among which all Aes Sedai, except for the Amirlan of the White Tower, are divided. These societies each have representatives in the legislation of the Tower, have personal ideologies, customs, and purposes, and their own ruling heads, and all except the White have networks of spies. Only the members of a certain Aja are supposed to know their head's identity, but the heads of the Ajas know each other. Entering an Aja. Traditionally, every sister chooses an Aja immediately after being raised beyond the rank of accepted. The story's principal exception is Egwene Alvir, raised directly from accepted to Amirlan without being made Aes Sedai first, according to a technicality in the law. The act of raising her to the Amirlan seat made her Aes Sedai. Generally, Ajas accept entrance almost immediately. Aes Sedai cannot change Ajas after being accepted into one. However, when Leen Sharif, a former member of the Blue Aja, was stilled and then healed, she was allowed to choose a new Aja, the Green. She and Siwan Sanchi are also the only known Aes Sedai to assume the rank twice. The Ajas, in alphabetical order, are as follows: Blue Aja. The Blue Sisters involve themselves with causes and justice. For this reason, they are considered the most worldly Aes Sedai and the most successful at interacting with common folk outside of the White Tower. At times, the causes they support seem to conflict with the established order or traditions of the Aes Sedai, which often earn them reproach from the other Ajas, notably the Red. Similarly, many Blue Sisters find a number of the rules and traditions of the Aes Sedai constraining and will spend extended periods of time outside the White Tower on various missions. Through their efforts, individual Blues often find contacts, friends, and allies among the peoples of the world and across all walks of life. Although the Blue Aja is the second smallest, it has the most extensive eyes and ears network. Furthermore, despite its size, a disproportionately high number of Amirlans have been raised from the Blue as compared to the other Ajas. The head of the Blue Aja is called the First Selector. Mo'erendamodid, a Blue Sister, is the first Aes Sedai character introduced in the series. Brown Aja Sisters of the Brown Aja are dedicated to the search for knowledge and spend much of their time engrossed in study. They are led by a ruling council, and the head of the council is called the First Chair. Green Aja Sisters of the Green Aja prepare for Tam and Gaiden. They are the most tolerant of men, and many even marry. The head of the Battle Aja is called Captain General. Grey Aja. Sisters of the Grey Aja are mediators, and often serve as arbitrators in disputes between rivaling nations, or as diplomats in dealing with ruling heads of state. The Grey Aja prides itself on being able to solve political crises and avert major armed conflicts through its diplomatic efforts. Grey Sisters have a reputation for being masterful and cunning debaters, and the most successful are known to have humbled royalty and aspiring political aggressors. Indeed, some of the most renowned Greys are said to have been able to resolve disputes by the simple threat of the potential involvement. The head of the Grey Aja is called the first clerk. Red Aja. The purpose of the Red Aja is ostensibly to prevent a second breaking of the world, but the principal business is to deprive gifted men of access to the One Power. The primary activity is to pursue and gentle men who show evidence of channeling. As such, they are often opposed to the blue. The red is the largest of all the Ajas and the one most feared outside the White Tower. Red Sisters are noted for their haughty demeanor, lack of compassion, and disdain for men in general, which results in the red being somewhat isolated from the other Ajas. The head of the Red Aja is called the highest. White Aja. The smallest Aja. The White Sisters devote themselves to questions of philosophy and truth. The head of the White Aja is called the first reasoner. Since the White Sisters value logic above all other pursuits, they are noted for the seeming lack of emotion and detachment from worldly affairs. Yellow Aja. Sisters of the Yellow Aja are healers. The head of the Yellow Aja is called the first weaver. Black Aja. An eighth, and mostly secret, Aja. Sisters of the Black Aja are dedicated to the Dark One. The existence of the Black Aja was consistently denied by all, until its presence was revealed by Egwene in the Gathering Storm. Later the Black Aja was hunted down and most of its members were captured and beheaded. Size. Between Book 6 and Book 10 of the saga we have enough information to know approximately the size of every Aja. Red Aja 195 190th Sisters. Green Aja 190 180th Sisters. Grey Aja 150 140th Sisters. Brown Aja 140 130th Sisters. Yellow Aja 130 120th Sisters. Blue Aja 120 110th Sisters. White Aja 110 100th Sisters. In the 12th book we also discover that the Black Aja Sisters number more than 210. This number is taken from all of the other Aja populations, as members of the Black Aja pose as members of their original Aja. Given these numbers, roughly 1 out of every 5 Aes Sedai is secretly a member of the Black Aja at this point in history. Becoming Aes Sedai. Novice. Traditionally the White Tower only accepts girls for training who are between 16 and 18 years old, though the rules are bent sometimes for novices of great potential. Becoming a novice is known as being put in white because they are held to a strict dress code. White dresses, stockings, shoes, and even hair ribbons. Recently among the rebel Aes Sedai the age restrictions have been lifted, and there are novices of all ages, even as old as grandmothers. This is causing consternation among some traditional sisters, but most are happy that the number of tower initiates has ceased dwindling. A novice's life is deliberately harsh, in order to prepare her for the difficult life of an Aes Sedai. Her room is tiny, the bed uncomfortable and hard, and she must wake every day before dawn to scrub the floor and sweep the room. Meals are taken in silence and are extremely brief, so the novice must eat quickly or go hungry. She will have lessons and classes, some on learning to channel but just as many on history, the old tongue, geography, politics and philosophy, and if needed reading and arithmetic, to all of which she must pay strict attention or face punishment. However, most of her day will be taken up with such chores and duties as laboring in the kitchens, scrubbing floors, doing errands for Aes Sedai, and working in the gardens. Novices are not permitted to channel except when supervised by an accepted or Aes Sedai, and must do all their chores by hand. The idea is that the hard work builds character, though it is likely that there is a desire to keep them too busy and too tired to start playing around and experimenting with the power. Novices are strictly confined to the tower, and there are no days off, except for occasional free days. Novices are subject to strict discipline, decided and handed out by a sister appointed to the post of Mistress of Novices. She is both disciplinarian and confidant, punishing those who have broken the rules and comforting those who are finding novice life too tough to handle. It is she who decides when a novice or accepted is ready to be tested, or if the girl will be put out of the tower for good. Punishment ranges from a lecture to a severe switching, and extra chores are usually involved. Although it is known what happens in the study, no one ever makes references to the punishment a person receives. For all that Aes Sedai act like they rule the world, within the tower there are hierarchies and rules, and discipline and obedience are instilled from the earliest days. In addition, novices are carefully cloistered from men. It isn't that the tower disapproves of intimacy, but that they don't want the novices thinking too much about heart and family, especially if they are successful, because they will outlive all the relatives and friends. If two novices get into a relationship, the mistress of novices will usually turn a blind eye. Understandably, some novices find the pressure too much and resolve to run away. They rarely get away with it, usually being caught and returned. Life for a captured runaway makes ordinary novice life look pleasant, with anything less than perfection being swiftly and harshly punished. The reason given is that a half-trained channel is a danger to herself and those around her, which is not untrue. But it is also the case that the tower considers itself to have absolute right over all channelers, and does not permit them to leave until it is finished with them. The novices studying under the rebel Aes Sedai have been arranged into families of 7 or 8 women, making them much easier to organize and also establishing close friendships that help novices to get through the day. This new development has meant that this faction has almost no runaways to deal with. The expected time spent as a novice for most girls is 10 years. Those showing greater potential might be raised accepted after 5 or 6 years, and there have been cases of gifted novices like Morian Damodid, Siwan Sanchi and Elaida Aroyan being raised after only 3, and truly exceptional ones, like Egwene Alvear and Elaine Trakand after a few months. When the mistress of novices decides that a girl is ready, she arranges for her to face the archers. In only one known instance has a tower initiate bypassed novice training completely. Nino Valmira began her training as one of the accepted at the insistence of Amil and Siwan Sanchi, but many Aes Sedai tower initiates disagreed with this decision. The archers. When a novice is raised to the accepted, it is after completing a trial in Tar Valon deep in the lower levels of the White Tower. It consists of 3 silver arches which, when the Tar Valon is activated, are filled with odd flickering light. The novice is warned only at the actual testing that if she enters the arches, she might not come back, and is given the option to refuse the test. She may refuse twice, but at the 3rd time, if she does not go on, she is put out of the tower. The workings of the arches is not completely understood, though they are known to involve Talaran Heard. When the novice walks through the first arch, she is faced with a fear from her past, one she must conquer to return through the arch. The second arch is a fear of the present, and the third a fear of the future. To return, a novice must enter an arch inside the Tar Valon, which is said to only appear once. Each is harder to fight than the last. The novice must enter completely naked and unprotected, and once inside the arch are not allowed to channel due to risks of burning out or dying inside of them. The only people who have channeled inside of the arches and survived have been Ninove and some of the first people to use the arches. Traditionally, what is experienced in the arches is not spoken of to anyone, but many novices come out weeping or furious, which can last for weeks. So it is known to be a terrible experience. Should she return through the third arch, she will be given a banded dress and a great serpent ring, proclaiming her to be one of the accepted. Accepted wear novices wear plain white. Accepted wear the same dress with 7 bands of color at hem and cuffs, the color of the 7 edges. She must wear her great serpent ring on the 3rd finger of her left hand. The accepted have larger and more comfortable rooms, and are trusted to channel alone and to direct their own studies. The accepted also have the greater responsibilities of her own studies while being expected to prepare and teach novice lessons on a wide range of topics. Being accepted does not mean less deference to Aes Sedai, and while she has more freedom, she is allowed to visit the city. For example, if she does break a rule, her punishment will be all the harsher. An accepted must learn much, as the tower will not permit ignorant Aes Sedai. It is expected that she will be 10 years in the banded white before being tested for the shawl, though again there are exceptions to this. Elaida Arohan, Moer and Amodid and Suan Sanchi all spent 3 years as novices and 3 as accepted before being raised Aes Sedai. Egwene Alvir and Elaine Trakan spent a matter of months in both novicehood and the status of accepted. The test for the shawl. Long before she is ready to be tested, the accepted will learn by heart a sequence of 100 complex weaves, often whose purposes are just for the testing. The test for the shawl is to perform all these weaves perfectly, in order, while maintaining outward serenity. The exact nature of the test is kept secret, but accepted to what they can to try distracting each other while practicing the weaves. She enters a spinning ring structure, and the sisters conducting the test create illusions to try to break her concentration and serenity. These illusions are far from harmless, involving anything from armies of shadow spawn to frigid temperatures, from minor embarrassments like having all her clothes disappear, to heart-rending choices and decisions. For every weave a separate illusion is created, and if there is any hesitation, or any break in composure, the accepted fails. And that's if she's lucky, as many women die in the test for the shawl. Should she manage to complete the 100 weaves, she will certainly be badly injured. She is given healing and sent off for a night of meditation. She is expected to stay awake all night, despite her certain exhaustion, and reflect on her new duties. The oath rod. Once an accepted passes the test, she is brought to another ceremony with the Amir and Seton representatives of all 7 Ages present. They are presented with the oath rod at her angriel that binds Aes Sedai to whatever oaths they swear while channeling into it. The accepted then swears the 3 oaths. The oaths were not always a part of the Aes Sedai tradition, and some sisters wish it still wasn't. The rod was discovered sometime between the Trollic Wars and the War of the 100 Years. It is unknown to the Aes Sedai that the oath rod is in fact a Tar Valon, which was used in the Age of Legends to bind criminals who were able to channel against further acts of law-breaking. Even though all sisters were bound to the respective Ages, they needed a common set of goals and principles to bind sisters of every Age together. The accepted swears to speak no word that is not true, make no weapon for one man to kill another, never used the One Power as a weapon, except against shadow spawn, to save her own life, or her warders, or the life of another sister. Sisters physically cannot break these oaths, though they can be circumvented. For instance, an Aes Sedai may deliberately put herself in danger to remove the constraint on using the power as a weapon, or she could make a statement that is misleading but technically true. Once she has sworn the oaths, be accepted as an Aes Sedai and is allowed to choose her Aja. Unknown to most channelers is that the Oath Rod also has the facility to unbind, useful for those sisters who become members of the Black Aja and swear new oaths to the Dark One. Channelers are also freed from the oaths when severed from the power. The sisters who later hunt the Black Aja in the tower have used it to make the sisters they suspect to Black-Ta'ri swear the old oaths and swear allegiance to them. Recent evidence has come up that shows that the Oath Rod might in fact also lower the life expectancy of a channeler bound by it. The Oath Rod's original purpose was to bind channelers convicted of an offense in order to stop them committing more crimes. It is known that Semiraj was ordered to be bound, but joined the Shadow to escape this. The ability to channel the One Power dramatically slows the channeler's aging process and extends her lifespan by centuries. When Elaine was in Ebudai, however, she came across a group calling itself the Kin, which was composed mainly of women who fail, at some point or another, in the training to become Aes Sedai and were put out of the tower. Some of these women have lived up to 100 years longer than the longest recorded Aes Sedai lifespan and still have much life left in them. Egwene has declared, as Amyrlin Seat, that any woman who wishes to be a full Aes Sedai must swear the oaths on the Oath Rod. Some fear that this might hasten the death of those potential sisters who have already exceeded the normal Aes Sedai lifespan. Another significant difference between Aes Sedai bound by the Oath Rod and female channelers who are not, is the fact that while Aes Sedai look ageless, the latter simply look much younger than the years. Egwene has plans to allow older sisters to retire into the Kin in the hopes that this will allow them to live the longer lives enjoyed by those who have not sworn on the Rod. The Oath Rod has only been shown to prevent actions that will break the oaths. For example, a sister's tongue will cleave to the top of her mouth if she tries to lie, preventing speech. It is unknown if the Oath Rod can force actions to fulfill the oaths. Exceptions. Since the tower became divided against itself, certain women among the rebel faction, beyond reach of any of the aforementioned Angreal, have become Aes Sedai by exceptional means. The first was Egwene Alvir, who is technically Aes Sedai by virtue of having been raised Amyrlin Seat, despite never having tested for the shawl. After becoming Amyrlin, she had 4 other accepted raised to the shawl by proclamation, a move that most sisters objected to. At the end of the Gathering Storm, Egwene takes the 3 oaths on the Oath Rod, though Elaine and Nynaeve remained unbound. During the Towers of Midnight, Nynaeve volunteers to take the formal test and passes, after which she swears her oaths and becomes bound. However, during the testing, Nynaeve modifies the formal lines as she is already Aes Sedai and therefore does not need to be tested to establish her worth, but rather to prove it as she sees. Elaine remains unsworn as she is worried of the effect on her unborn babies, and the remaining 2 unsworn Aes Sedai are at the Black Tower.